Hello, I'm Lukman Haris and you're watching Agenda AWANI. One of the things that we always discuss on Agenda AWANI and also on Astro AWANI as a whole is the shift to going greener, whether on a private scale or on a bigger scale, on a national scale. So we're going to continue that discussion in this episode. What more with the recent announcements by the Prime Minister following the Budget 2025, which announced a slew of the continuation of initiatives or benefits for EVs. But the question is now, where are we in terms of green adoption and what does the roadmap look like for the next few years? And to discuss that, joining me in the studio today is Mr. Azrul Reza Aziz. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Malaysia Automotive, Robotics and IoT Institute, MARI. Azrul, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Well, first of all, admittedly, when people think about EVs or electrification or just going green in general, MARI may not be the first name that comes to mind. It's less of a household name. So can you just start by explaining the primary roles of MARI in promoting the automotive and also technology sectors in the country?
Okay. I think, Lukman, I think it's normal for people, public don't really know MARI is. MARI is basically deal with a lot of industry players. So there's a lot of industry players, OEMs, vendors and all that. So MARI is the agency, it's short for Malaysia Automotive, Robotics and IoT, under Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. So we have been in the, we have established since 14 years ago. So what we do is basically we support the role for MITI, focusing on automotive development in Malaysia. I think why is it really important? Because automotive sector in Malaysia contributing around 4 to 5% of GDP in Malaysia. And TIV of Malaysia last year alone is around 799,000.
Right.
So it's bigger than Thailand for the time being. Yeah. So what we do is we become the focal point. We develop the industry from end to end, from the entire value chain. When I said entire value chain is cradle to cradle or cradle to grave, we call it. From the OEMs, the development of the cars itself, R&D and all that, up into aftermarket. So in between we have a lot of other things, for example, retail, distribution, assembly of the cars and all that. So when after the market, we can mention about the sustainability, the circular economy, how a car being disposed to a certain extent, be recycling or remanufacturing or repurposed. So I think the entire of value chain of the automotive, so we involved in development from 2000, I think since 2010.
Can you share with us the key successes achieved so far? And what are the key challenges and critical factors influencing the growth of the EV sector in Malaysia over the next few years, maybe say next 5 years?
Yeah, okay, I think maybe we go back a little bit on why EV is quite important nowadays and become a global trend to a certain extent. So one thing is that we're looking at the real issue in hand, basically the climate change, which is about the driven by the pollution. One of it is carbon emission, and I'm not sure whether you know, Lukman, that 23% of the pollution or the carbon emission globally is contributing from transportation. That's globally. In Malaysia alone, it's around 25 to 28%. So it's really important to look into a technology or a mobility that can serve a better in terms of alternative, a better in terms of green technology. Yeah. So I think in 2016, there's 55 countries at least that signed under the Paris Agreement. So that committing themselves to have a carbon neutrality by a certain number of years. So for Malaysia, it's 2050. So we wanted to make sure that by 2050, carbon neutral is really important. Yeah. So why EV? I think EV is the best solution for the time being to make sure to reduce the carbon emission on the road by at least 30%. Because like I mentioned earlier, the major contribution of carbon emission in the world is from the transportation alone. Yeah? So before that, maybe I elaborate a little bit what is EV, because when people talk about EV, people always say it's a BEV. BEV is battery EV. So other than battery EV, there's also hybrid, which is there's a internal combustion engine, ICE, combined with a battery, small battery, that powered a certain number of range, so that the car can go extended, in terms of the distance, and also certain carbon emission can be reduced. So other than that, we have plug hybrid EV, which is you need to be plugged to a certain extent. Sometimes it can go 80 to 100 kilometer, extending of the range as well. Yeah. So I think by prioritizing this EV, it will help in terms of Malaysia to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2050.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have this huge push for EV adoption,
Yeah.
not just recently, but I think in the past few years.
Yeah.
And I think this question has been asked many times, but I think it's worth to be asked again because it's still top of mind for many people looking to make that leap to having an EV. They cite cost problems or cost challenges. They cite availability of infrastructure such as chargers. So what are the challenges and critical factors that you think will be key in influencing the growth of EV adoption here in this country?
Yeah, I think you mentioned one is on the charging station. Yeah, charging station now we have around 3,171. Yeah, and we have on the road BEV is around 32,000.
Right.
So, yeah. So if
about 10-4.
Yeah, 1 to 10, right?
Yeah.
So 1 to 10. So the ratio here, I think the best that we should achieve is 1 to 8. Yeah, 1 to 8. So I think we are not that far off in terms of ratio. So I think charging station is important, but it need to grow with the demand as well. So which is I think in terms of success, I think in terms of the tracking, we are on the right direction. So on the charging station. And another one is on the safety concern. I think people always talk about safety, whether it's safe battery compared to ICE.
Yeah, people still do have those concerns. Safety?
Yeah, people still have the concern.
Right.
But interestingly, I think there's a statistic that I mean you can based on certain research that been done, especially on the insurance company, in terms of the fire that by BEV. Compared to ICE, ICE is higher.
Right.
ICE is, if I'm not mistaken, is around 1,500 over 100,000 of cars. BEV is 25.
Fires from accidents or just fires that combust?
Yeah, any fire that related to
Yeah.
BEV or ICE and all that. So it's really, really low. But I think maybe because of it's global trend currently, so people like to focus on BEV.
Yeah.
But traditionally, if we see the data, the statistic, ICE also has higher possibility of getting fire and whatnot.
Yeah. Do you think cost is a concern for people wanting to buy the first EVs?
Cost, I think, okay. Cost of purchase, probably. But if you look into a long term, because you're going to own a car, for example, like 7 to 9 years, the cost of maintenance, cost of ownership is way, way cheaper. Especially, I think recently, there's announcement of rationalization of RON 95. So, for example, that T15, not going to get certain subsidy and all that. So I think this is a good opportunity because it's going to reduce a lot of costs of ownership, meaning that cost of what we call that the electricity. In this case, it's electricity. In petrol, is governed by petrol.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be definitely what we call that for the T15 to basically change their mind. Yeah, to own EV after this.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to Mari, what are the key initiatives you are implementing to help accelerate the adoption of EVs and also the whole EV ecosystem in Malaysia?
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a lot, but maybe I can focus on few things. On the physical side, I think we are looking into building an infrastructure. When I say in terms of infrastructure, that we are building in terms of center of excellence for future industry. So what this COIFI, we call it as short, what COIFI entails is basically to have produce a platform for the industry to change from their ICE to EV. So what the center of excellence has is one of it is proving ground and also test bed. So that's none in Malaysia yet. I think in Southeast Asia, probably Thailand has it. But Malaysia, we are looking only not on the EV side also. We are also looking into AV, the autonomous vehicle. So that's one of the platform that we created so that the industry can flourish and then use that facility. So I think that's one on the physical side, on the infrastructure. But also we look into, for example, the soft part of it is standard and also guideline. So we work with Jabatan Standard Malaysia to produce certain level of standard. For example, I give example, by end of this year, we target to have a battery swapping standard for two wheels. Because two wheels, if there are too many players that using their own technology, their own technical spec and all that, so it's difficult for ownership of the vehicle, two wheels. If they want to swap, they cannot swap on other platform. But what we wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that it's going to be technically going to be similar in terms of regulatory also going to be similar. So we're going to make sure that it's going to be accessible to any other people in the market, from B40 until to
across the board.
Across the board, yeah.
MARI is also holding its second EV conference at the upcoming EMobility Asia 2024 in November. That's this month. And you are also a strategic partner of the show. So share with us, what can you share with us about this conference and what do you hope to achieve? Okay.
This is a conference that has been done also, I think, a few years back. So we use this platform, EMobility Asia, to organize together with MIDA. So we are going to co-host with MIDA for the EV conference 2024. So it's going to be in KLCC from November 12 to 14. So it will cover a lot of things because the speaker that coming from all over the world. So we're going to talk about the new battery technology. We're going to talk about the charging station, advanced charging station and all that. Because people talk about charging station that use a physical, there's also wireless charging station. Certain part of the world that we don't know of, certain people don't know of. So we're going to talk about that. So it's going to create awareness not only to public but also to business community as well. So we hope that the business community in Malaysia and also public can attend to see what we have in terms of new technology in the battery.
In terms of EMobility Asia itself, anything MARI is showcasing specifically at the show?
Oh yeah, I think other than co-host the EV conference 2024, we also going to promote Marichas. I think if I can elaborate a little bit about Marichas. Marichas is the rebate that been given to individual income with 120,000 per annum to purchase an EV bike.
EV bike?
Yeah, so the government will give subsidy of 2,400 for one purchase. So we already have this since early of the year. So it's quite attractive to this group of people. And as of now, we have around more than 4,000 applications. More than 4,000 that been approved in terms of the subsidy. 2,000 I think is already on the road, and the one that apply I think more than 10,000. Yeah.
I think one of the common, criticisms by cynics in terms of events or conferences like this, not just in terms of EV adoption, but any topic, is that most of it is dialogues and talks without any meaningful change that comes afterwards. So, what impact do you aim or do you think a platform like EMA would have on the local and regional industry? How will it strengthen the groundwork for EV development in Malaysia and also in the region?
Yeah, okay. I think the different EMobility Asia in general. So we're going to have around 150 exhibitors, yeah, and I think at least 30% is going to be from global, especially from ASEAN, China, Singapore, Thailand, and then 70% of local. So I think this is a good platform, not only for local, for the international, to meet and also to look into possibility of working together. I think that's most important thing, because some technology that was brought in other country is basically through this platform, through this exhibition, through these conferences and all that. So I think we expect that probably 150 booths showcasing and all that. We have certain changing of in terms of business matching and all that. So last year I think we did also. I think this is second one. Last year we did the first one, EMobility Asia. I think we gathered around 50 companies, and then out of the 50 companies, I think around 5 to 10 that signs an MOU. And then other than 5 to 10 that MOU, I think 2 or 3 that really have done some transaction in terms of cross-border as well. Yeah.
So, what innovative technologies or developments in the EV space are you most excited about now? And I think more importantly, how is Malaysia's automotive industry keeping up with the rapid advancements of technology we are seeing in this field right now?
Okay, I think I did mention just now battery advancement in terms of wireless charging. Yeah, I think technology is quite fast, especially on battery nowadays. So people already speak about solid state battery, and I think for people to know that solid state is basically with high density, so it's going to be lighter, but it can go more distant and also longer in terms of state of health of the battery. So it can go 15, 20 years and all that, yeah. And also it can go 800 to 1,000 kilometers. So you're going to have lesser time to charge as well. Wireless charging, I think another technology. Battery swapping, but battery swapping I think is a bit compared to wireless and wireless charging and also battery swapping. I think wireless charging has a better better
we're seeing battery swapping now in countries like China, right? But it's very specialized cases and specialized brands.
Yeah, true. Again, the standard come into picture. So if just one company that they have to have built a lot of infrastructure. So I think scale-wise, I think it's not really feasible, especially for Malaysia. But wireless charging is something that doable to a certain extent. And then I think we also talk about battery passport. Batteries passport under the EU regulation by 2027, the battery over 2 kilowatt need to have battery passport. So what is battery passport? Is basically the battery source need to be traced from beginning until it be recycled or disposed. So I think it's more on the ESG, not also only ESG, but also to make sure that it be disposed responsibly, and also it can be recycled to a certain extent. And talking about battery recycling technology also is quite interesting, because battery recycling, talking about battery itself, it's been disposed, is quite dangerous. So what we wanted to make sure that it can be recycled. Yeah. So I think there's few technology. I think there are two technology in the market. We say using the hydrometallurgy method, and the other one is pyrometallurgy method. So basically, what we wanted to do is that to change the battery, and then to from the battery that cannot be used, and then recycle back, and then use back, going into the ecosystem. So it's like a circular economy altogether.
All these advancements that you're talking about, and they're quite impressive, and I believe there'll be more in the years to come, because that's the nature of technology. Why are you confident that the local automotive industry will be able to keep up with these rapid advancements in the years ahead?
Okay. One thing I think, if you see our target by 2030, 20% is XEV. Yeah. Certain people would say that we are not really aggressive compared to neighboring countries. They are 30% by 2030. One thing for sure that we wanted to make sure that there's certain level of buffer, because to do transition from one technology to another technology, it takes time, a little bit of time. It's not that overnight that you just find new technology and then you use it, and then you basically develop it, and also you just manufacture it. So you need a little bit of time. So based on our research, that basically the transition of ICE in Malaysia, talking about the automotive industry, from ICE, internal combustion engine, to EV, it needs a little bit of time, because of up to 30% of the supplier, the technology will be obsolete. Because you imagine that in Malaysia, the supply chain focus on engine, doing engine parts and all that. So in EV, there's no engine. So the battery packaging, battery pack, BMS, battery management system, thermal management system, and all that. So that basically have to the existing vendor need to look into all this new technology. So it need time to do transition. So I think that's one of our role, to make sure that they are able to migrate from one technology to another technology. So how we do it, basically, one is we have this PRODOA that committed to have EV by 2025 below 100,000. Produa also is committed to make sure that to develop this ecosystem to be ready in the future. So I think that's one of the things that really important.
I think it's interesting you mentioned the aggressiveness just now between entities, and the situation is that ASEAN has about 600 million people, and now we're seeing in the region, especially in Malaysia, we're seeing for now an influx of Chinese EVs, American EVs, but we are getting there. You mentioned that Produa has made a pledge, Proton has just announced its own EV. The local brands are, up and coming, and this is seen across ASEAN. So there's one of two ways that this can go. With such a lucrative region, you see all these Southeast Asian companies either collaborating with each other to capture the market more effectively, or competing with each other for that slice in the market. Which one do you think it will be, and why?
Okay, all right. I think competition is always there. If we eliminate competition, I think no one's going to be advancing further, right? So healthy competition is really needed in the market, the global market, regional market. But if you ask me, I think there's a lot of element of collaboration that can be done. I'll give you an example. So one example in the EV landscape, Indonesia is the producer of nickels. There's a lot of nickels and all that. Yeah? And Malaysia, our strength is really in the E&E sector, the semiconductor. So we are number 5 or number 6, the largest in the world. So we have that ecosystem of E&E. And you imagine one thing in the scenario that Indonesia is producing the nickel and then export to Malaysia, and then we do the battery packaging, and then the battery packaging basically be export to Thailand, to Indonesia, to Vietnam, other part of the world, other part of the region. So there's element of collaborating, using each other's strength rather than competing. So of course this is a vision. Yeah, I think because next year we're going to be chairmanship of the ASEAN and all that. So this is something that we wanted to push as well in the future. Try to complementing each other rather than competing.
Right. Yeah. Interesting conversation so far. But we have just a minute left. I want to finish with this, Azrul. What message do you have for businesses and also consumers in supporting the EV transition that we are seeing in Malaysia? Because we still do have cynics as expected. So what do you say to these people?
Yeah. Okay. I think one thing MITI and MARI has done a lot in terms of under the NAP 2020, National Automotive Policy 2020, and also NIMP 2030. So all this is to focus on the transition, especially to EEV or EV. People know about it. Yeah. So I think there are two parts of it. I think you asked about the businesses. Yeah. So I think the businesses, I think this is the right opportunity to look into new frontier, because EV is a new fresh sector. So there's a lot of opportunity that we can ride on, especially like I mentioned on the E&E sector, because we are one of the largest that produce semiconductor. So seize the opportunity now, I think, for businesses, and also for consumer. I think for consumer, as cliche that I can be sound, we want to save the planet, but it's true.
It's true.
It's true for future generation. And also the user have to look into the cost of ownership. Let's say one day there's no RON 95 subsidy. In the future, we never know. Yeah? So this is the way to reduce your cost.
It makes sense as well, because periodical service for gas cars, ICE cars, also if you add up within a year, it can cost well over 1,000 or 1,500 ringgit. So if you're talking about cost of ownership, I think it makes sense to move to an EV. It's just that we hope moving forward to buy an EV will be more affordable, but I think we got a bright future ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So people do want to save the planet. It's not cliche, Azrul, but they just hope that they can afford to save the planet at the moment. Yeah. But with the help of organizations like MARI, I do believe that it will be made easier moving forward. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you to Azrul Reza Aziz, the CEO of MARI, or Malaysia Automotive Robotics and IoT Institute. And thank you for watching Agenda Awani. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.